one's the best crypto asset? Bitcoin's the best crypto asset. Which one's the best crypto asset? Bitcoin's the best crypto asset. Which one's the best? 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 What's the second best?
This is Discover Crypto. Every day on the channel, we teach you how to make money with digital assets. I'm your host, DZ. Smash that like on the way in. We have a very big show today. We got to talk about a $250,000 Bitcoin. We got to talk about Aerodrome. We got to talk about all the altcoins. We got to talk about ETH. And we got to talk about Donald Trump screaming from the roof of the White House. Smash that like button on the way in. We already got people in the Rumble chat talking about green candles. Talking about green something, that's for sure, everybody. So how are we all doing? It's going to be one of those very, very special DZ streams. And someone said it looks like I'm losing weight. Well, thank you very much. I've lost 3 pounds over the last 10 days, roughly. So I do appreciate the compliments there. We're all just trying to get smarter, more healthy, and richer at the end of the day. So smash that like button if you're about that journey. I know I'm about that journey. But let's talk about Bitcoin's journey right now. On the 10-minute chart, you see Bitcoin just kind of chopping around on this range. And this is the, let's call it, so we have ancient dragon resistance on Ethereum. So we're going to call this one the sleeping giant support on Bitcoin. So if we go to the 3-day, you'll see exactly what we're talking about. This is basically the top of the last few pumps that we've had. New all-time high, new all-time high, new all-time high. Then we smashed previous trend line here, went all the way up, and now we're coming back down to test this. So this is a line we've been watching for a while now, talking about it probably every day this week. And you can see we are definitely at a do or die inflection point, and the story becomes even more stark once you go from the daily candle to the 4-hour candle. The bulls and the bears are fighting right now as we speak, but it looks like we are creating some higher lows. And if we look at the relative strength index, we definitely have some hidden divergence right there. So on the 4-hour chart, hidden divs, bull divs on the 4-hour typically play out pretty well. You can see that was a pretty good trade. And I'm loving the strength of the RSI. This is the relative strength index. And right now we are seeing some strength. We need to turn this to the upside. If we go to the 1 hour, oh yeah, it is in effect, folks. It is in effect. So it looks like the markets are wanting to turn around. But of course, you know, the markets can turn on a dime, and it'll turn on you. And it'll turn on you in a heartbeat. And I'll turn on you if you don't smash that like button, everybody. We're going to read the chat in a second. Let's look at one more asset. That's going to be Ethereum. Something on Ethereum I really want to show you. The shorts are piling up, and they're piling up in a heavy way. I'm sorry, the longs creating a lot of pressure to the downside. So we might see some of these longs get liquidated. This is on Binance. You can see there's a lot of people just betting a little too bullishly on Ethereum. There's not enough bears to be punished, but there's tons of bulls to be punished. And if we go to the other exchanges, you're going to see a similar story. You're seeing a lot of longs relative to shorts, and that could be a sign of a impending reversal. If you go to BitGet, it's a little bit more neutral, but on the main exchanges here, you can see there might be a washout coming, folks. So, it is looking a little bit bullish on the charts, but that's all the more reason for, some longs to get liquidated there. All right, let's get into the chat here. We're going to look at your altcoins. We're going to look at the biggest gainers. We're going to look at Bitcoin's price here. Found a gem yesterday on base. We're going to talk about a little bit base action, and I got to maybe throw some shots. Throw some shots at Kyle Chassis, all right? We're starting to get a little bit more ornery over here at Disco Crypto. I like the name Disco Crypto there. We also got a lot of deep dives in the Discord. DeFi Crypto Airdrop. He is the source of information when it comes to base DeFi, especially on base. The man definitely knows his DeFi stuff. And we got everybody talking about all the likes are piling up. 6, 7, somewhere around there, maybe in the 60s. All right, talk about... So the WNBA has got a lot of people talking, man. We're going to move forward. What exchange do you guys recommend? I do use LBank. That was the last place I bought Black Hole. LBank does have a lot of the new pairs. So if you're trying to get a new coin, maybe you don't feel like getting a chain-specific wallet, maybe like a Pi. I wouldn't recommend getting Pi, but Hype, something like that. I would highly recommend go check them out. All right, let's go look at the crypto prices, everybody. We have Bitcoin down 0.1%, but let's hit refresh. Now we're up 0.8%. ETH is inking in a little bit of a green day here, 0.6%. BNB's up 2%. And we have Cardano flat on the hour, flat on the day, which is so wild because we had the midnight airdrop tonight. Turn on those notifications, making sure you're following the channel. We're dropping the midnight how-to guide, and I'm going to answer your questions about, cold storage a little bit later on in the show. So if you have some ADA on a Ledger, ADA on an Arculus, I'll go ahead and address those. Now, Hype is down a little bit, 1.4, and Stellar is down, XLM. I'm going to talk about a major competitor to XLM in the RWA space and how it's maybe an altcoin you need to pay attention to. All right, now the big gainers, Pump.Fun. The story with Pump.Fun today is going to be essentially they have now overtaken Bonk.Fun's revenue on a 24-hour chart. The community is very bullish, and they're saying, all right, this is signs that Pump.Fun isn't dead. Bonk.Fun isn't killing it. And so maybe we were a little bit overblown with our fears that the meme season is dead on Solana. The meme degen traders on Solana aren't going to be going anywhere. Who asks obvious questions? There's no dumb question. There's only people that are learning and early on in their journey, but there are dumb people. There's dumb people. Let's just say it. All right, look, there is dumb people. By definition, 50% of the world is dumber than average, right? We have 8 billion people. There's that one person, 4 billion. They're ranked 4 billion on the intelligence scale. Half the world's dumber than that person. So, there's a little truth to that, I suppose. Polygon also looking pretty good. Base went down. We covered that yesterday. Obviously, competing L2s are going to be in a good position. Also, Poly market getting more and more popular, seeing a lot more attention on those bets, seeing a lot more volume on those bets. And we're actually going to talk about a Polygon market bet in a little bit here. SPX 6,900. Morad was right. Meme coin, super cycles here. And Crow. A lot of people were talking about Crow yesterday in the chat. And Crow also with a nice little pump here. Probably going to be a lot of the SEC actions. Hash is down. Glad I didn't tell people to yellow into that one. That one was in the 60s yesterday, and it's now fallen down to 85. And Story is down 6.5%. Litecoin and Bonk. So Pump's win is Bonk's loss. But I think Bonk's going to have another day. Bonk is going to have another day. That dog isn't done. He's going to come out. I know he's pooped on your carpet now. And then he did that weird thing where he sits on your shoe and he puts the tail up. So he's like wiping his butt on your shoe. You hate it. But the dog days of summer might be over. But the Solana phone is coming out. And I do have a prediction that I think the Solana phone is going to look pretty good for Bonk holders. Maybe there's going to be something there. Maybe you just bring a little attention. All of that's going to be good. And Mammo, a lot of activity on Mammo. I'm liking what I'm seeing on Mammo. I didn't ape into Mammo, but Mammo might be one to pay attention to as well. All right, Dumb and Dumber, great movie. I laughed hysterically as a wee child when that first came out. There was the scene where he is in the restroom and it's making lots of noise, and the line, "I'm cleaning my teeth," just had me peals of laughter as a child, just crying laughter. Very, very funny movie. One of the better 90s movies and one of the better movies from those two brothers that directed it. But let's talk about a $250,000 Bitcoin, everybody. I know we're talking about Bitcoin is going to $1 million eventually. It's going to 250. Obviously, it's inevitable at this point. But the question is when. The question is how. And what is this rally going to look like? How painful is it going to be? Well, Tom Lee is saying this freaking year, everybody, September, October, November, December, we got 4 months and some change for massive, massive moves. That might be a little too bullish. Let's see what he says here. So he's saying it may reach 250K in 2025, despite other analysts cautiously pulling back their targets. One thing about Tom Lee and one thing about analysts in general, when there's a 5% correction, 7% correction, they'll revise their Bitcoin prediction by 50%, 60%. So they go from 300K, maybe it's only 180. Maybe it's only 140. Like, how did a 3K move spook you that much? But Tom Lee, he does not care. He does not think that way. He said, I think Bitcoin should really build upon this 120K level before the end of the year. 200, maybe even 250. And he was saying that to Nat Brunel on the Coin Stories podcast. He's been on the show before. So last November, he had another prediction, 12-month deadline for Bitcoin to hit 250K. So he's been bullish in the past. And Tom Lee, I don't know if this is going to happen, buddy. I don't know if it can hit 250K by November or December. but I will entertain the thought with an M2 super liquidity cycle, we could see it Q1 2026. But that's, bucking the 4-year trend. And I'll talk about the 4-year trend in a little bit. But there's other people that I'm also going to disagree with here. It's not just you, Kyle. I'm coming after you, Wrecked Capital. Wrecked Capital said a Bitcoin cycle follows 2020 pattern. The market will likely peak in October, which is 550 days after the Bitcoin halving. Now, he's not saying it's going to happen. He just said if, so we'll let him slide this time. But Wrecked Capital, I disagree, and I go with Wrecked Fencer. Wrecked Fencer with the hot take here. Not even a hot take. It's facts. Last 3 Bitcoin bull cycles. 2013 was 371 days to peak. 2017 was 504 days to peak. And 2021 was 546 days to peak. What do you see about these numbers? These numbers are increasing. Each cycle is getting longer. That means the real blow off top for the cycle. His prediction, November 2025. Do not let the whales shake you out. I've been a little all over the place over the past, say, 3-4 years over when I think Bitcoin, the exact day and the exact month on the exact year that is going to top. You're going to have, if you don't have a different answer in 22 versus 2025, maybe you're not entertaining new data enough. Maybe you're just kind of almost religious with your thoughts there. You're not open to interpretation. I'm open to interpretation. And my first interpretation is, yeah, the cycle, Wrecked Fencer or Wrecked Capital saying October, that makes a lot of sense. But then I said, well, if it's October, they got to front run that. So I came in with tail end of September, 9/27. That was my prediction, probably 21, 22, 23. Since we've seen the correlation of the M2 money supply since, I guess, about 2024, to me, I think that's going to be the canary in the coal mine. That is what I'm basing my Bitcoin targets on. And that has roughly an 80 to 111 day lag. So we will know roughly 3 months before the prediction of when this is going to be the Bitcoin top. However, M2 money supply just did a little leg to the upside. We talked about this yesterday. And so I am still waiting to see. I am a wait and see, get new information before we just make massive proclamations. And that's my declaration. Now let's move forward here. Now, Bitwise investment officer Matt Hogan, no relation to the Hulkster, recently called the 4-year halving dead and predicted 2026 will be an up year for Bitcoin. So we're seeing different takes, different predictions. I'd like to know what your prediction is, chat. What's your prediction? Tell me when you think the Bitcoin top is going to be this cycle, or our cycle's dead and you're going to say, 2032 before we see a pullback. Let me know. We're going to look at those. I'm interested to know what you guys think. And then we'll tease the danger zone of 105K. So dumping Bitcoin is an odd notion to me, but tell everyone 250 so you can dump on them at 200K. Now, Michael Saylor has enough Bitcoin to dump. CZ has enough Bitcoin, and Binance, they have enough Bitcoin to dump. I don't think I can affect the markets with my little baby bags compared to Michael Saylor here. DZ dropping bars. I hate when people see that and they're like, I'm a poet and I didn't know it. I'm not going to show it. All right. So we're not going to say that. I'll keep one more rhyme in the rest of the show. I will slip another limerick from DZ. So we're going to get another DZ limerick here. Reading some of these chats here. Good summation. Thank you. You're just good. Chat, you guys are awesome. And you're so awesome. I might even do a short gaming stream later on today. Aaron, I'm talking to our technical director here. I might do an hour-long stream on Magic the Gathering. I recently just hit about top 100 ranked in the world. I haven't played competitively in a while. I got a little Inspirato, and I hit top 100 globally. So I might bust out a little Magic the Gathering a little bit later. My prediction, I will continue to watch the show. I will continue to show my love to Techno Goody. Thank you for the support there. And we got 140K, 130K, maybe 143. And we got people that can just spin a rhyme any good old time. All right, let's talk about 105 here. 105 might be live. And DZ's not trying to jive. That's not the rhyme. You're going to get one later. 105K danger zone. Why are we talking about 105K? Well, there's a few things here. UTXO cost basis histogram. Boy, that sounds entertaining. That's as exciting as proto-dank sharding. UTXO, unspent transaction output. This is the accounting model of Bitcoin. It is different than the accounting model of Ethereum or Solana that uses account-based modeling. This is UTXO-based accounting, and I'm already boring myself, so I'm just going to move on here. But if you guys want to know more about what that means, just let me know in the chat. I'll talk about it after the article. But essentially, the last time we see these transactions was, you know, a high wall around 105. So a lot of accumulation or realization at this price, moving of tokens at 105. Also, 1 to 3 month holder realized price. These are the newer entrants. Oftentimes those be retail or people just, you know, not fully understanding Bitcoin. It's 106. And then we got the short-term holder realized price, 105,350. And so this is the average acquisition cost for Bitcoin, less than 5 months. And so we just got a lot of signs pointing at 105. But this afternoon, Josh is releasing a video talking about 105. He's got a lot more analysis here. He's going to go into the charts and watch tonight's video. So he is traveling to Dubai. It's not going to rain there this time, I hope. And he's got a little bit of a different schedule right now. So he has recorded a video, I guess, this morning, last night, depending on time zone differences there. So watch out for Josh's video at 4 p.m. I look like a mono red player. I wear deodorant. So that's not true. And I was playing, what was I playing? I was playing the best deck. It was the best deck. It was, oh man, I don't even remember. Oh, blue black. No, I play with islands. Okay, I play the thinking man strategies here. We're not just mono red goblins out here. DZ No Rhymes, he's lyrical. His Chainlink stack is unbelievable. Yeah, I still got 3.2 Chainlink. All right. If people wonder, do you actually even hold Chainlink? Is you hold anything besides Cardano? I hold 3.2 Chainlink, and I'm hoping to DCA another 0.8, and then I get up to 4. And so that's going to be the goal for Friday here. Heard crypto dips hard first half of August, but pumps second half. We talked about that yesterday morning. No, I did a short on it. So let's see here. So I'm not even on the YouTube. Give me 1 second here. All right, let's go to YouTube, discover crypto. Yeah, if you look here on our shorts, I talk about that. Bitcoin does the same move every. Yes, we're not going to have sound, but essentially, 23 or 13, 17, 21, and 2025 post-halving years. So right now we're in a post-halving year. It typically bottoms in early August, and then it has a hard rally afterwards. And if you look, we get a 10% decline, and then it went from 100 to 150. So it fell 10%, pumped 50%. You go to 2017, it fell 10%, and then pumped 100%. We're from 2,500 to 5K. Then we go to 2021, fell 12%, pumped 60%. So another huge pump. And if you go to 2025, we have now fallen. And just, I think I did a 30% move. A 30% move gives us $140,000 Bitcoin. So yes, Bitcoin does tend to behave similarly in August of a post-halving year. But what do we always say? As people learn about these little reverberations, these echoes, that's when they quit playing out. That's when the echo stops. It's like you yelled into the cave. You said, buy and sell early August. And then you come back and it's done because everybody done heard the echo. It's already over, folks. It's already over. All right, we do got some super chats here. Is Polygon-matic a good investment? 2 days ago, I'd say, I don't know. But then after base went down yesterday, I'm like, it's looking a little bit better. One thing I like and dislike about Polygon is 90 some odd % of the tokens have been released on Polygon. I used to say, that's like the most bullish thing in crypto. But there's some crypto projects that have long tail end unlocks, meaning tokens are being unlocked in the 2030s. And there's billionaires who are getting big bags in like literally 2032. And so these billionaires are incentivized to pump those bags until 2032. Polygon does not have that. The other good side, I would say, so that's the downside. The good side, though, is Sandeep. I don't want to butcher his last name, so I'm not going to say it. But the CEO of Polygon, very, very bright guy. He is a very sharp individual. I would not bet against him. And Poly Market is also doing very well. So a good investment. That's kind of a little bit of a different question here. So let's just look at Matic. I think we can look up Pol, right? Yeah, Pol, X-Matic. And we click on it, and it shows us the chart, and we hit the max. And I mean, it doesn't look terrible, and it looks like we have a nice little trend line here. And, like I said, the tokens are out. That's why you can see the market cap looking very, very similar. Now, that looks different because it changed names, Matic, so I guess that's the case there. And like I said, 90% of the tokens out. Technically, it's like 88%, but we're looking at very, very close to 90% of the tokens. Technically, max supply is infinity, but you don't have to worry about the CEO spinning up a bunch of tokens. That's not going to happen. I do think it's going to perform fairly well, and probably shouldn't have an issue. If it can't hit the Trump pump, maybe it can hit the March pump, which was right here. No, that's because it's so new, it's actually right here. All right, well, the Trump pump is significantly declined from the March pump. Now, March pump 2024 is BlackRock adding Bitcoin ETFs. Trump pump is going to be Trump wins the election, everything pumps November 6th, also rate cuts on November 6th or 7th. And so this is that pump. We should definitely be able to hit 70 cents again, 69 cents. So if that's a good trade to you, I mean, it seems like a pretty good trade. That's a 3x. So I wouldn't shake my stick at 3x's there. All right, let's talk about Bitcoin prices here. And thanks for the super chat there. All right, speaking of Bitcoin, what do the money markets say? What do the predictors say? What do the people actually placing bets say? Well, Poly Market users predict 80% chance we do drop to 111. So a lot of people are thinking we're going to see a little bit of a decline. But when you're looking at will we hit new all-time highs in, say, the next, little under 2 months, a lot of people are still very bullish. Now, we had a little bit of a decline here, but you see at one point, 88% of the people betting said, oh, yeah, Bitcoin's going to a new all-time high by the end of next month. Now, if you go to January, even more bullish. Right now, down, quote unquote, down to 78%. But at one point, 91%, we're talking about like a week ago, 90% of people said Bitcoin new all-time high by the end of the year. And so people are leaning a little bit bullish, and even Dogecoin getting some, not quite the same amount of love here. Only 12% of people think Doge is going to hit a new all-time high. To me, this almost looks like a good bet. I really think Doge has a good shot at hitting 70 cents, 74, whatever it was. To me, that's not too bearish, and that's pretty good odds. That's going to be very close to an 8-to-1 payout. Put $50 on this, you get $400 if Doge hits 75 cents. All right, now we got other stuff, pumping Bitcoin here, and that's going to be the people being a little bit too bearish. There are people betting on Bitcoin's price going down. If Bitcoin's price goes up, they get liquidated. They're called greedy. They're called you. No, I'm just kidding. They're called Drew. No. Drew's making great trades. Shout out to the basement here. And Drew goes live later on today. Make sure you check that out. But $18 billion worth of shorts are at risk if we hit $125,000. So we're seeing, and I actually checked the liquidation heat map. This does not look like this for Bitcoin. Bitcoin, it's a lot more neutral. You see a lot more shorts waiting to get wiped out, aka yellow bright lines on the top side. And so, no, definitely there's a lot of people that are going to get wrecked, and wrecked hard at 125. And we reported yesterday, the majority of this is around 120. So 120, you're probably looking at maybe 10 billion if we just pump a little bit. So we got all types of narratives here. We got, people essentially, investors super bullish on Bitcoin. We got predictors and the bettors super bullish on Bitcoin. We got the exchanges, heat maps looking super bullish on Bitcoin. But what about the macro environment? Was that still looking good? Well, if you're in the Indonesian area, it is looking very good. We got Indonesia exploring a national Bitcoin reserve. Let me throw a little cold water on this, says a local group. We got the details, though. It is a little bit more bullish than you may think here. You may only need one mammo a year. I don't know about that one. Can Bitcoin go up to 250K and its dominance go down at the same time? Yes, Bitcoin can pump while dominance declines, but not like double. There are periods, in 2021, for instance, where, the move from 40 to 60, you have alts going crazy. And so, yeah, Bitcoin can pump, but that was only a 50% pump. 100% pump in a more mature market, that might be a little bit of a stretch there. Plume is going to kill it as well. Like I said, we're going to talk about RWAs a little bit later on. If people think we're going down this month, we won't. Ha, 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 ha. Ha, 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 ha. Check out this bizarre story from Indonesia. Indonesia says, all right, so they're exploring Bitcoin reserve as a reserve asset. So they want Bitcoin on their balance sheets. Now, this is according to Bitcoin Indonesia, but they recently met with officials. All right. Who do they meet with? Well, they were actually invited to the vice president's office. So we're not talking about the leadership, but we're a stone's throw away. We're at the vice president level, and they were invited to present how Bitcoin could benefit the country. And they had a bold idea: Bitcoin mining as a national reserve strategy. Now, it's got a lot better stats than you may be aware of. Not a lot of people are aware it is the 4th most populous country, probably because it has a bunch of islands. It doesn't look like a large landmass. Also, Russia's proximity, you get size bias, recency bias. Indonesia is the 4th most populous country, 280 million people. It's a GDP of 1.4 trillion, making it the 16th largest economy. It's India, China, US, Indonesia. So we're talking about a very, very populated country here. Now, what are their mining opportunities? Well, there are sources of energy here. They have abundant hydroelectric and geothermal resources. I do have a prediction. Geothermal is going to be bigger 10 years from now, 20 years from now than most people are expecting. Holes are going to be big. Maybe I'm a little bit biased because I'm reading Silo book series here. Now, this pitch may be less relevant for Indonesia compared to other countries like the US or countries in the European Economic Zone. Why? Debt to GDP is healthy. So they're not as, I don't want to say sick in the economy like the US is. They're not as fractured. They're not as pillaged. They're not as looted. They're not as insolvent. They're a lot more solvent than the US economy. They have a low debt to GDP ratio of around 39%. America, for instance, is 100 plus, and Japan is, since I forget the exact year, they're over 200% there. And also, if you look at their inflation rate, they got low inflation, 0.76%. So they actually have less than 1% inflation. Keynesian economic professors are seething. Anyways, Indonesia has imposed, but it's a mixed bag with Indonesia. They have a ban on crypto payments and have since 2017, and said in 2023, we're coming for you. We are going to come for you. If you're a tourist and you make crypto payments, you're going to be dealt with firmly. Now, I think it was Singapore where they caned the guy who spray painted cars, but I would not want to be punished over there. That's all I'm going to say. Now, despite the ban, though, enforcement is lax. All right. It's like a laxative. It's just liquid, and they don't even know what they're doing here. Cointelegraph reporter on the ground observed several real estate listings in Bali openly accepting Bitcoin. But we have seen things, Bali has a little bit looser financial regulations. It's kind of like the Nevada of Indonesia. So if you can do something in Nevada, it might not mean that it's kosher across the entire nation there. So Indonesia is looking pretty bullish, but that doesn't tell the whole story of Indonesia. They have cheap energy. They have a very, very large population. They have a fairly substantial economy as well. And so I did a little research. What is Indonesia known for exporting? They must do a shift. They have to shift their economy. They are the world's largest producer of palm oil. This is put them on a particular person's radar. And this is why they have to do a shift. And that particular person, it's this guy. It is this guy, folks. Look, he's pissed off about the palm oil or Paul oil. I don't know. But yeah, I can just tell this is not Maha. All right. You got palm oil, seed oils. We know likey. So RFK, he said, you need to change your economy over there, Indonesia. Damn Paul oil. All right. His name is Robert Paul Oil. Don't sleep on Crow and VVS. Crow's moving. And as we get clarity from the U.S. government, Crow's probably pretty well positioned here. You can say whatever you want to Rumbles, not as your... Oh my God, I did not read the rest of that sentence. Mustache. Why you set me up like that, man? Why you set me up? What format? We are playing standard on Magic the Gathering. Like I said, might do a gaming stream. If y'all don't know, I used to be a professional Magic the Gathering player. There's players who are much better than me, world champions. Jeremy, he was better than me, but hey, I was not bad. In fact, I was certified genius level when it came to Magic the Gathering. But when you compare yourself to, someone with uber autism, you don't feel so smart. It's like being the top 3 chess player in the world, and you look at Magnus play, and you're just like, God, I suck. That was kind of my issue with Magic the Gathering. DZ, tell TJ, throw a party event when the bull run's over. Then we bring the new millionaires together to network. I like that idea there. We need to do some more meetups as we get closer to the frothy periods here. We had a major tell me he was in Indonesia. The poor people. Oh my God! Again, I should read the rest of the sentences there. I don't know what's going on over there regarding sanitation, but that's neither here nor there. That doesn't have much to do with crypto. So let's get back into accumulation by governments. This is another false narrative. Pete, you're usually pretty good, but Pete, he moves fast. And ask questions later. Michigan State Pension Fund announced they bought $10 million worth of Bitcoin. Americans buying Bitcoin, huge. It's yes and no. It's true and false. Historian, once again, we're bringing the receipts here. What do? We don't trust. We freaking verify on Disco, fam, okay? That's why you like this channel. I'm bringing the detailed, deep analysis that you're not seeing from the other streamers, especially on the live level, off the top of the dome, live research. We love it here. All right. So what's going on with the Michigan retirement system? Yes, they have some crypto. Yes, they have 10 million. But they didn't just buy 10 million. They had 4 million when they bought 100 shares in March. Then they had 6 million when they bought some more shares in July. They have added to the 6 million, and now they have 10 million. So yes, they have 10.7 total, but they just announced that they bought $4 million worth. Still very bullish. They also have an ETH trust, and so also very bullish. So Michigan retirement system, they handle the pension funds for the state employees, bullish on crypto. But this is where, again, I got to throw the cold water on y'all. All right. So we were talking about 10 million in Bitcoin. Woo. 10 million in ETH. Woo. Also, looks like 11 million in ETH there. So 11 million. All right. We're feeling good. Probably because ETH is out pumping their Bitcoin there. Now, combined 18 million. We'll take that. Although when I do the math of 10 plus 11, I get 21. But hey, whatever. But what's going on? Why is this not as bullish as DZ saying it is? Because they have $110 billion. And if you look at their crypto investment, this is a very, very small fraction. Not 1%, not 0.1%, 0.016% of the total portfolio. So we love it. We like to see it, but we want this number to grow. We want this number to climb. And I'm not going to, I'm not going to get out of bed all happy and feeling good about 0.016, but still very, very bullish. Just be careful when you're seeing some of these clickbaity things there. All right, now, a lot of people, 10 plus 11 is not 21. Yeah, duh. It's like 6 or 7, 6, 7. All right, the moment they stopped printing United States notes and replaced it with Federal Reserve note was the moment America changed forever. In the Disco fam, we know this inherently. We know this in our bones, and we know that we're scammed, and we know that the system is rigged, and we know that there is one exit. That exit is going to be crypto, primarily Bitcoin. And we're going to teach you about the altcoins that can get you even more Bitcoin. That's going to be my strategy. Let's go all along for the journey all together here. All right, Disco fam. I'm loving it, man. I'm about to start wearing bell bottoms here. All right. So put some oil on that head. I'm a little dry. I stay dry. Shaved my head yesterday after tons and tons of sweating, breaking down a porch over the weekend. So I was a little bit dry when I shaved my head. So it might not be as, should have oiled up. I'm getting heavier. Is your bag getting heavier or you getting heavier? You know what? That's all right. It's my mother had a saying and she said, put the effing fork down. And that was her saying, that was her saying. So I think about it every now and then. All right, let's talk about Kobayashi and some alarming work data. Alarming data. Maybe not so alarming. Once again, we don't trust, we verify here. I'm going to bring you the deep analysis. So wage growth for the lowest paid workers in the U.S. slowed to plus 3.7 year over year. This is the lowest in 7 years. And it's a 50% drop from what they saw in 22. These are workers currently earning less than $800 a week. Meanwhile, the top earners saw their wages grow 4.7. So the overall workforce saw 4.3. So essentially, the gap between the rich and the poor is widening. This is going to lead to one thing. This is going to lead to the lower wages looking for an exit, looking for a life raft. And the smart ones are already buying Bitcoin. And my prediction is the dumb ones are even going to start buying Bitcoin. These are going to be the people that, the Dave Portnoy fans there. Nothing, there's anything wrong with the 5'3" manlet there, but, maybe he doesn't have the best crypto moves. So hopefully they buy at a good time. Hopefully they don't buy the top. But to me, this is signaling retail is going to be buying more and more crypto. And we're talking about the lowest paid workers. We're talking about the lowest quartile, meaning the lowest 25%. But I did a little research. How many people make minimum wage? Did you know only 1% of hourly workers actually make minimum wage? But there is a caveat. We're talking about federal minimum wage, and I couldn't find the numbers in time this morning. I probably could have put some AI deep research on it. I was trying to do the research myself like an idiot. Most not most. A lot of states, I'd have to look up the number. A lot of states don't have 725 as the minimum wage. So, state of Washington, for instance, if you're making the state minimum wage, you're not going to be in the statistics. So, federal income minimum wage 1.1%. On the state level, I'm sure it's a lot higher. And so, just the gap between the rich and the poor widening, not a good thing. And when DZ started working fresh in high school at Chuck E. Cheese, I was making $5.15. I think it was $5.15 or $5.25. So let me know, some of the old heads or even younger, what was your starting salary, your starting wages? Me, $5. I made $5 an hour. It's almost sickening when I think about it. Is Dave Portnoy that short? He might be 5'5". There's tons of photos of him on his toes, and I can't respect short guys that stand on their toes. You thought I was going to stop there? No. Ain't nothing wrong with our short kings. We love our short kings. Short kings. I was a short king all the way until like 10th grade. There were several times I was the shortest kid in class or the fattest kid in class or both. So we do love our short kings, but don't be the short king that stands on his tippy toes every single picture. Own it. Own it. This is how tall I am. You think Lex Grossman would stand on his toes? You know, you need that Lex Grossman energy here. All right, let's see. They arrested someone at a Chuck E. Cheese not that long. I know what story you're talking about. No, it wasn't me. We had someone that started out $4 an hour. Woo! We got someone starting at $2.35, $2.60, $4.10. All right, now, Josh, I don't know if you started at $69 an hour. That's a very high-paying entry-level position. 30 pounds a day. Back in 2000. Whoo, man. Started at $7, but my friend started $1.40. Woo, $1.40 as a car washer. I hope you got a lot of cash tips or just stole the change from the glove box or the center console. If you're making $1.40, I fully support stealing the change. No, we don't want to steal. Karma's real. Maybe. Who knows? $11. All right. So heading to communism. Haven't communists been running everything since the Russian Revolution in 1915? I don't know. 17. I'm not, quote me on that one. All right, 335. All right, yeah, we got a lot of 425. Got first raise to 420. You DJ. Change goes in the ashtray. Okay. My wage did a 4x once. Woo, man, he went from 15 a trick to 60 a trick. I was there. I wasn't there. I'm sorry. I don't know why I threw a pot shot at you. I apologize. I walk it back. All right, now let's talk about, speaking of the wages, this has led to particular results, in my opinion. Those particular results are the bond markets are, I don't want to say collapsing, but we're seeing a lot of issues that are going to have tail end, long end effects, second order effects, third order effects on the economy and on Bitcoin and on a lot of things. DZ is a menace, stealing change out of cars, eating chicken at Hardee's in the dead zone. That is a throwback there, Branimation. My second job was Hardee's, and there was a camera dead zone where I would sometimes walk by, grab a drumstick, and eat the drumstick in the dead zone. Look, all right, guys, I was a hungry growing boy, okay? I was a hungry growing teenager. All right, let's talk about the debt market, though. So we just had a treasury auction. Foreign demand hit a low, and big banks had to step up. Here's why it matters. Now, this is a long thread, but I have the salient points for you. So when the U.S. government needs money, which is always, it borrows by selling promises to pay back later called treasuries. So there's the treasury auction market. And essentially, we always call them IOUs. Lloyd from Dumb and Dumber say just as good as money, but and these IOUs have interest. So they'll sell, this one was 3-year notes, meaning the U.S. is going to pay these people back in 3 years. You're going to get your interest. We don't know what the interest is. That's what the auction's for. You're going to have people like, I'll buy it for, you give me 10% interest. And so, I don't need that much. I'll do it if you just give me 5% interest. And someone else like, I'll come in at 3%. And so this is going to be important for later. Now, these notes are sold at auctions like eBay, but for debt. So investors tell the government what interest they want in order to lend. The government will then pick the best offers, meaning, I'll lowball him. I'll come in with 2.9%. And the government will be like, all right, sold. And so it does that until it raises the full amount of what they're trying to get, this time $58 billion. But here's the problem. And so say you're like, all right, I'll buy for 3. And then that next guy's like, I'll buy for 2.9. The government's like, all right, boom, we got all 58 billion sold. Everybody comes in at 2.9. And so you may have like raised your hand, like, all right, I'm willing to get like 3.1, but then at the end of the day, you get 2.9. Now, this isn't abnormal. It's just kind of how this auction works. So they call this the stop out yield. Oh, son of a gun. I didn't mean to do that. Think of it like the final price the government has to pay to get the money. That's the final interest rate there. Now, the market guesses what the rate will be before the auction. So everyone's like getting together, like, I bet it's going to be 3.06, 3.06, 3.06. And so when it ends up being that 2.9, that creates an issue. They call this, it's like betting odds. So in this case, they expected it to be 3.662. End up being different. 69. Oh, of course it was. This difference is called a tail. It means demand was weaker than expected, and the government had to give a little bit higher interest than what was expected. Now, there's going to be a lot of foreign governments, pension funds like Michigan, and hedge funds and investment firms. And then we have big banks. Now, here's who showed up. Foreign buyers, 54%, lowest share in over a year. U.S. took near a record high. Big banks got stuck with 18%, which is not great. So why are the foreign investors backing off? Well, currency risk. They see the dollar declining, and so they don't want to buy this thing that's paying interest in U.S. dollars. Essentially, some cases with your currency situation, you're going to earn close to zero. So these foreign governments are saying, man, it ain't worth it. I'm not buying these bonds. Let's roll forward here. Like I said, we're going to kind of skim this. What does this all mean, man? What does this all mean? Oh, my highlights disappeared. I only did 2. So let's get back. All right. So foreigners aren't coming in. So who's stepping up? U.S. Also banks. Banks are taking a lot of this debt, a lot of this debt that's not paying as good an interest as that they thought. And so now big banks are actually required to bid. So they don't really have a choice. The government does it, said, hey, you want to do business in America? Well, if the foreigners don't step up and Michigan Pension Fund doesn't step up, JP Morgan, you're stepping up and you don't have a choice. And so that's what's happening here. And now we get into the weeds with the ratio and the yield paid and all this. But essentially, the weak 3-year demand, 10-year didn't move as much. Why? Because they already expected a weak auction. The market's already expecting weakness. Everybody's watching the Fed. And so right now, a lot of people are watching the Fed. So what does this all mean? Where's this all heading? Well, where's this matter for regular people? This is going to influence your mortgage rates, your car loans, your credit cards, and your student loans, and even the prices of your stocks, your prices of Bitcoin. And so if the government borrowing costs rise, yours will too. So this is going to have a lot of negative effects on the economy. And this is already having a lot of negative effects on the bank's balance sheets. These are the unrealized losses on banks' balance sheets. They're now sitting on $400 billion in unrealized losses Q1 2025. Now you can see, it does seem like it's declining because, we do have a lot higher interest rates than we did in 2020. But look at how insane this spike is. And some of these, like this, led to the great financial crisis. And then we kind of printed out of it. This, a lot of it's going to be obviously what happened in early 2020. But the stage was set for another financial crisis. And if you look at this right here, I see this chart and it says to me, it's screaming. In fact, it's screaming in my ears so bad. I got, was it tinnitus or tinnitus? It's screaming buy Bitcoin. It's screaming invest in crypto. It's screaming be plugged in. And now let's talk about this other guy that's screaming. The orange man is screaming. That's right, Donald Trump. Donald Trump, we now have the genesis. We have his Bane genesis. When he emerged from his protective cocoon, when he emerged from the containment zone, and the orange man broke free. He's almost like the Incredible Hulk. He was locked up. He was in a box, and they put him in a box after his first presidential run. He ran, he was the president from January 2017 to January 2021. Well, when he got done, he was essentially a private citizen for 4 years. Something happened during those 4 years that galvanized Trump into being a Bitcoiner. A lot of people say, oh, it's because the Winklevi gave him $1 million in Bitcoin, or he went to the Bitcoin conference and he heard the cheers after he said free Ross. It's almost like that Rick and Morty episode where Morty has the one jacked arm, he's like, oh, free Ross. Oh, wait, fire Gensler. Oh, I guess I like Bitcoin now. No, it wasn't that. I used to think along those lines, maybe I gave him not enough credence here, maybe not enough credibility. And, maybe kind of looked at some past business transactions, and I think I judged Trump a little harshly. Here's his Bane origin story. KJam says Trump got debanked. So we kind of knew that, but now he kind of gave the details. This video is 3 minutes long, so I'm just going to kind of read some of the lines here. He confirmed the EO to punish banks for debanking conservatives. We talked about that article. I'm not going to get it. We talked about it yesterday. We're always breaking the news ahead of time, always breaking the news before the other shows, before the other live stream. So watch yesterday. You want to learn about that. But he talks about how he was debanked after 2020. The CEO of Bank of America, excuse my language, cover the kids' ears. The CEO of Bank of America was kissing my ass when I was president. And when I called him after I was president, I wanted to deposit $1 billion plus. A lot of other things. Bank of America CEO said, no, we can't do it, fam. We can't do it. That's because the banks discriminated against me very badly, and I was very good to the banks. I had the greatest economy in the history of our country when I was president. They discriminated against many conservatives. The banking regulators do everything you can to destroy Trump, and that's what they did. And guess what? I'm president. How did that happen? So they created a crypto villain. They created a Bitcoiner, and they created the orange man to like the orange coin. Is it a coincidence, or is a simulation messing with us? I'm still on the fence. Now, we also talked about Trump versus Powell. I don't know about it happening at a karate combat. I would be happy with, even if it was as lame as Vince McMahon versus Trump, where it was like one forearm smashed to a forehead. I would take that. That would be pretty entertaining there. Let's see here. Yeah, Bitcoin to $1 million by Friday. Maybe a little much. Maybe a little much there. I'm seeing green after August 8th. I hope so. Come to Pittsburgh in October for Eternal Weekend. Play some Legacy. Bro, I got Legacy decks on deck. But I did sell some dual lands in 2020 for crypto, and I'm quite happy about that, except I chased altcoins and held them down too long. I should have just kept it in Bitcoin, obviously. Alex Jones was right. Did you scream and yell for someone to bring you a cup of warm? Whoa now. All right, let's see here. Thoughts on all this is confusing. Can we just wipe all debt clean? Everyone gets a fresh start. Someone's been watching Fight Club. Someone's been watching Project Mayhem. And everybody remember, his name is Robert Paulson. All right, Morning Minute. SEC gave the crypto staking the green light. If you don't know, we also covered this yesterday. We're starting to see the articles about it, but we kind of gave our analysis on what this means. I do want to share one post. I think it was Cardano Yoda. Yeah, I got to bring up ADA because, there's a lot of action in ADA right now. In the top 20, only Cardano has native liquid staking. You stake your ADA directly from your wallet. No locking period. All other projects require custodial services and extra tokens. Talking about ETH liquid staking, it's actually liquid derivative staking. That's to me, that's the technical classification. And you'll see that with the other ones as well. Solana validators, a little bit different there. And if you run your proof of stake yourself, maybe a little bit different there. But yeah, if you go to Lido DAO and you stake your ETH, you lose your ETH, but you get, Steth. I guess Steth. What do you mean Steth? Staked ETH. ST-ETH. Oh, cool. I have Steth in my wallet now. Now Lido's going to be good. Lido's not going anywhere. I think your Steth's fine. All right. And Steth is big. I kind of like saying Steth. Am I saying Steth too many times? The staked ETH, we can go to CoinGecko. Come on, work with me, not against me. Lido is a top 10 crypto. Lido staked Ether is a number 8, $32 billion market cap. So $32 billion worth of ETH is staked, and then that created $32 billion worth of Steth. Cardano, it isn't that system. You actually still hold the tokens. And so it's like you deposit it in Lido staked Ether, but then you could go buy an NFT immediately. And there's no issues. And then that led to, I think, Donald Trump, claim your free Cardano Night tokens. I think that's what he was saying from the rooftop. It's a little bit garbled. It's a little bit mumbled and jumbled. I'm pretty sure that's what he said there. Now, here we are talking about the Ledger. Yeah, Ledger, sign the CIP8 messaging upgrade, okay? Or not sign it. Upgrade to the CIP8 messaging system. If you don't know what that means, it's going to increase the amount of bytes per smart contract transaction or transaction period on the blockchain. Up your bytes. And that's also going to lead me into Ledger. Also, Arculus, a lot of these companies, they need to essentially look into it and message their communities. Someone, like we said, someone is getting this night token. We don't know if there's going to be a claimable window like Ledger did with Flare. It does look like Ledger's making the right steps, and I would assume Arculus is going to do the right steps, but I don't have the answer on what Arculus is going to do, on what Ledger's going to do. I do know Ledger is, in talks with some of these entities. I think IOG is on the forefront of this, and I wouldn't be surprised IOG talking to all the top wallets, Arculus included there. So if you're wondering, well, it's on my Ledger, Charles has posted about it, so go check that out. Yeah, and again, it is the midnight airdrop. I do recommend it. Go get yourself a Lace wallet. I don't have a link here, but we do have a link on yesterday's live stream. And so if you want to go, maybe I'll add it after the show. So it won't be on this episode just yet. But if you go here and you'll see Lace. Yesterday's and the day before. And I did a thread on it as well. Don't look at an Aptos Alpha. Don't look at that Aptos Alpha. Aptos Alpha coming, all right? All right, now, it's a Cardano night token. It's live. Everyone's going crazy. Talk about Base. Base is now plotting the Everything app as Base is down for 29 minutes. I do think Base is going to be very, very good positioning for this super app. I think X is probably going to do fairly well. There are super apps in China. We don't really have an American equivalent, also in India. And so a super app is going to handle paying your light bill, to messaging your friends, to posting the picture of your dog. I don't know if Coinbase can handle all of that, but eventually they want to be the everything app. Now, Everything Exchange is going to be bullish for a particular altcoin. We covered they're adding DeFi integrations to their app users. The main beneficiary of that is going to be Aerodrome Finance. Now, Kyle said it's going to be a 4x if it hits previous all-time high. Like he literally said, oh, it's like 230 and it's 71 cents. That's like a 4x. It's going to be a 4x. No, that's 280. What are you talking about? It's actually 120, 213. Yeah, it's 213 and 230. Yeah, so it's a lot closer to a 3x, which is 213, versus a 4x, which is 284. And so Kyle saying, previous all-time, it's a 4x. No, it's a 3x, Kyle. It's a 3x. He's talking about this right here. But there's also some he didn't mention. So you can see higher highs, higher lows, very bullish channel. We've been posting about this Aerodrome, just opportunity to maybe potentially get some exposure if you don't have any exposure. But if you go to market cap, it's actually only like a 2x to reach previous all-time high by market cap. We're at 648. We're at 1.26. So not even actually. So there might not be a quick 4x, but I do think it can hit the price target here. And I actually think it can hit the trend line here, which is creating higher highs. And so there is going to be a large appetite for Aerodome. Do not sleep on that. And speaking of Base, A0X, not telling, super big on Plume, Ondo, a lot of good DeFi. A0X is going to be one to pay attention to, folks. So you're seeing it here first. Very low market cap. I haven't bought this yet. He's saying if you miss Mamo, it's the next base coin to explode. I literally haven't bought it yet. I'm not trying to front run or pump my bags, but I'm just going to go ahead and tell you, I might go buy this. I might buy a little bit. I'm not like selling all my ETH, but I might buy a little bit. A0X. You heard it here first. If it pumps, I'll take credit. If it dumps, I'll say I never bought. No, I'll take the blame. I'll take the blame too. All right, now I should have put this with the government printing money and our debt issues. Whenever you get too bearish, just ask yourself, what's more likely? Dogecoin reaching $1 or the US balancing its budget? And you'll find your way once more. Yes, Doge to $1. I don't know if it could do that in 2025. I definitely think it can hit previous all-time high. And that's, you saw the huge payout in Poly market. Not a lot of people are expecting that. Someone saying I doubled my money when I saw his tweet. Yeah, I went from 4 to 8. So nice little doubling there. I think 4 cents, right? People getting free stuff, still complaining. Just lower your expectations. It feels unbelievable in your gut, but when you think about it logically, it's just lower your expectations. Remember when I said that guy or girl at 4 billion? Half the world is dumber than that guy. You know what I mean? There's people who look at the manlet Portnoy is like some sort of financial guru, and the guy had inside information on the Libra meme coin from the Argentinian president's team. and he still lost money. He's the only guy that loses money with Bitcoin consistently that's been here for multiple cycles. How do you be in Bitcoin for cycles and lose money with Bitcoin? I don't want to say it's an IQ issue, but some people just can't grasp Bitcoin. I think the Disco fam can grasp Bitcoin here. Can the ADA Bitcoin bridge pump ADA to $500? No, but Pete will be happy with $5. That one's a lot more likely there. Let's see. I have a buy order at 68 cents. Remember, the degens are going to buy the heck out of 69. You should honestly do like 69.7. He sold XRP before he sold his XRP before the pump. I remember that's right too. That's right. That's another. He's like the only guy that had XRP a year ago who's down. Now I think he went up. I'm not sure when he jumped in. Manny, thank you very much. I used to work with a coworker, Manny. I don't think you're the same guy, but if you are, what's up, Manny? What's up, Manny? All right, let's talk about Solana. The beach in California, not the token. No, we're talking about the token. Solana treasury race heating up. This, I just want to kind of share my sentiments here. This treasury seems more likely as the number 3 treasury. A lot of people talking about XRP treasury, BNB treasury, Hype treasury, Pengu treasury. I think the Solana treasury is going to be the treasury to pay attention to as far as number 3. The main reason is going to be the staking rewards. The champion reason is going to be the staking rewards. Solana validators earn yield when they stake their Solana to help validate the network, help make the network more secure. Also, Solana validators will use their validators to front run you. They'll use it to, kind of power up their MEV bots, to power up their front running transactions. And so I could see a world where once BlackRock has some clarity, just like they can run things with their Aladdin software and like how they can coordinate with Citadel to front run your stock purchase. You open up Robinhood. You're like, well, Dave Portnoy told me to buy Palantir at the top. So I buy Palantir. It takes, 0.7 seconds, 3 seconds. Citadel's like buying it and selling it to you. They're basically med bots, but on Wall Street. So I think the staking rewards, just how lucrative that's going to be, is going to lead to actual Solana treasuries. So pay attention to Solana. Now, China said WorldCoin's just too much national security risk. I'm just going to move on from this one. So I think it's interesting, though, that World is rejected by China. The eye scanning orbs do not like it. All right, now let's do a little deep dive on Aptos. This is kind of a preview of what we'll do sometimes on the Friday member streams on Friday. I can't even remember what you did a deep dive on, but I just remember it was like, I saw a lot of activity on it over the weekend. I was like, oh man, that was good stuff. So we're here to talk a little bit about Aptos, and we're going to go into the powerful elite technocrat billionaire oligarchs, because there's another connection. We talked about it a little bit yesterday. I don't want to go too conspiratorial, so we're just going to stick to the facts. And there is subterfuge. There is hiding of data. There is wool trying to be pulled over your eyes. And I'm here to peel your eyelids back. All right. That maybe sounded a little bit weird. Yeah. We're talking about Orange Clock, or whatever the heck, Clockwork Orange Clock. I'm just thinking about Orange Man and Orange Coin a little bit too much here. All right. Dave gave no F's about right away and walked right in front of my speeding Tesla. Well, he was too short to see above the trash can and the mail and the postal box that was next to him. He couldn't see your car coming from the postal box. All right, Portnoy is sports ball watchers Kramer. Oh, does he make bad bets too? That'd be real bad. People talking about was it on the pyramid, and how was the pineal gland on the pyramid? Were they like slicing people up with obsidian stones in their brain? I don't know what they're doing. Let's talk about Aptos. Big money is behind Aptos. If you don't know what Aptos is, it was a spinoff from the Facebook multi-currency stablecoin. It's called DM. Those engineers went to found 2 separate companies. They did Mistin Labs, which created SWE, and they also created Aptos. Aptos is got a lot of attention. It has a lot of rich benefactors. And now we're starting to see Aptos kind of take over RWA space. Now, there's going to be a lot of RWA plays. I think I like Ondo. Apollo Global. I honestly did not know they mentioned it on this article. I did a research into, so I just threw this on there. I actually haven't like highlighted this, or actually haven't read it. I just wanted to show that this had happened. Apollo Global We're going to talk about that in a second. Maybe 2% of you guys probably know where I'm going to be going. It's pretty obscure. So if you go to A16Z, they have a portfolio page. This is literally a16.com/portfolio. But when you look and you're like, oh, okay. Oh, so here's how it starts. You're like, wait, 9, 12, 15, 18, 20, 21 companies. Haven't they invested in a lot more than 21 companies? And you go and you're like, oh, okay. So there's more. Okay. And you're like, oh, wait a minute. You're like, oh, I don't see Aptos. Where's Aptos? And then you're like, well, maybe it's like a founding entity or something. So you start like looking. You're like, all right, well, SWE, maybe it'd be under Mistin Labs. Well, SWE's not under Mistin. So, if you look at SWE, I don't even know if they have it on here. Stack Overflow, Swell. Yeah, they like have all these, like, I know they invested in some of these. Like, I could have swore they invested in Aptos. I went to their portfolio page. I went beyond this and I went to the long scroll of things that they've invested in. I don't see it. But you keep digging. You keep scratching. You keep sniffing. Oh, well, what's this? What is this? Oh, so if you find in a other page, oh, okay. Oh, well, look how many things. Oh, Anduril. That's very, very closely linked to the Department of Defense. Okay, so they're basically seed funding DoD projects. They're seed funding projects on behalf of the Chamber of Commerce. They're seed funding the elites playbook here. And if you look, oh, they did invest in Aptos. So Andreessen Horowitz, once you do digging, you'll see that, oh, they are actually investing in Aptos. And in fact, if you look, they're actually the top investor. They're the top investor, Andreessen Horowitz. Andreessen Horowitz is the top investor from the Seed A round. And so it's like, not only is it hidden and not really, hard to find, they were number one. They were the number one group. And then I noticed, Apollo Investment Corporations, that's funded by Leon Black. Leon Black is best friends with Jeff. Yes, that Jeff with the mansion in Manhattan. Leon Black's Apollo Investment Corp has a lot of their tendrils in a lot of different pies. They don't do fingers. They actually stick something else in the pie, but we're not going to go there. American Pie. Apollo Investment Group, Paxos, Binance. We're talking about very, very well connected. Jump Crypto, Andreessen Horowitz. They made this in the Series A round. Buying FTX. Now remember, FTX's balance sheet has been sold. I might have to do a little bit of a research to see who bought the FTX's shares of their equity there. But Aptos, what about the token unlocks? This is what I was trying to tell you folks about the long tail in token unlocks. There are token unlocks all the way until 2032. And so, yes, there's going to be sell pressure. Yes, there's going to be token dilution. But when you have token unlocks going out for 7 years, that's when. Do you think Andreessen Horowitz dumps their bag right here? Do you think Mark Andreessen, one of the smartest investors in Silicon Valley, is like, now's when we dump? No, they're getting a bag next month and a bag next month and another bag and another bag and another bag. My prediction would be they start really offloading second cycle 2029, maybe 2030. This is what I would look at when you're starting to do some of your research here. Aptos is not one that I've hold. I want to say I consolidate a lot of those competing L1s. TIA, Aptos, say into SWE. But now I'm up on my SWE. And so I'm going to do a little bit more research. And there's something else in the charts here. This is Aptos on the 1 week. We're coming across very, very salient, upside here. Very, very strong support. And this is on the weekly candles. If you go down to the daily, tells even stronger tail. I actually drew the line on the weekly, clicked on daily, and then noticed this. Very, very bullish charts. And if you look at that, very, very strong textbook bounce off the 4 hour. But we did wick below. I wouldn't be surprised to see, maybe a little dip down below. But I'll tell you this, I'm buying all the not at all. I'm going to get Aptos under $4. That'd be a nice little scam wick, little weekly scam wick there. I don't know. And I'm not like super bullish on Aptos. Like, oh my God, the tech's great and the community is growing and everyone loves it. I'm just seeing potential upside. I'm just seeing potential upside for a variety of factors. the tech, the community are not high on that variety of factors. To me, it's the money behind it and the TA. And then, you know, you can entertain the tech, you can look at transactions. And then also, you can't really ignore, maybe what's going on the enterprise side. So there is the Aptos deep dive, and reminds me of Zapdos. I was fun nerd lore. Yes, I'm a nerd. Yes, I'm like top ranked Magic the Gathering player right now as we speak. Might do a gaming stream later. I was a very large high school, the very first person to collect all 150 Pokemon. We would, I think it was me. I had like the newer one, but I also had an old Pokemon. I would let my friends, we would borrow my second Game Boy with the connector tape cable, and we would let others like borrow each other's games. And, like, all right, well, let me get that one that's only in red and trade me the one that's only in blue. And I was the first one to get Tauros. And I think the 3 EVs held us back. I think we all were like, I don't want to trade you my EV, and I don't want to start a new game to give you my EV. So I got my hands on the third EV, and I was the first one. I was a legend. I was a legend at Hoggard High to 4 nerds and absolutely 0 of the women there. So, hey, that's just nerd stuff, man. That's just nerd stuff. Sometimes you got to put in the work. It's just how it's going to be. Well, folks, that is our show today. Thank you for joining. Thank you for joining the DZ stream, the DZ lockdown stream. Big shout out to Aaron. Good job on the ones and twos there, on the sticks there. Why would they hide this? Why would they hide this? Why would they hide it, Steve-O? I don't know why they would hide it. That is a very, very good question there. Maybe the more, I don't want to say suspicious, maybe the more legal gray stuff you do with the token, maybe the less you want to advertise that you hold it. I'm not suggesting that they're doing legal gray stuff, but if I were, this is how I would act. So maybe it's that. Maybe it's that. Sip of bean juice before we head out. I like that tradition. All right, we're going to do it. All right, everybody join. I got hot bean juice, aka black coffee. You might have an energy drink. You might have some juice. You might have some water. Maybe you got a pina colada. I don't know. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Oh, yeah. That stuff. Yeah, man, we're blowing cartridges. And if the markets don't pump, I'm going to blow my brains out. I'm joking, YouTube. I'm joking. Let's just end it. Adios.
We just wanted to take a quick second to shout out our sponsor, Arculus. They are a cold storage hardware wallet, helps you secure all of your digital assets for the future. Just tap this thing to the back of your phone and boom, you're in. We wouldn't be able to do this without them, but also wouldn't be able to do this without you guys, the Disco fam. You've supported us a lot over the years. If you want to support the channel now, just use the code DC20. It gets you 20% off this card. It's the #1 way you can support this channel going forward. Thank you for your support. We'll see you at the top.